Oh my gosh, the frickin' wiring on this boat. It's horrible. Again, this is one of my favorite things now that we're embarking on a new, it's not a new segment to the crew platform, but what it is the ability to be able to have someone like Aaron come in here who rewires boats, bilge pumps, boats, stereos, whatever it might be. He's a guy that does something that I cannot do. He does something that I'm uncomfortable with. I am uncomfortable with boat wiring. I am uncomfortable with electrical outlets. I am not good at all that stuff, and that bothers me the most. So in this film, we're going to talk about rewiring my boat. But here's something that I want everyone to understand. You have to have a plan going into this. This isn't, let's just start ripping and cutting wires. Yes. and redo the wiring. Before you cut a wire, here's what I would tell you, because with Aaron, I've sat with him now, and we've thought about our panels and what is crucial for what we need on this boat, what is not crucial that we can get rid of. You may not need these undergunnel lights. You might not need these side console lights where water's getting into your console and creating mildew. You know, so when I was sitting down and you said to me, what is it that you want? And I'm like, go ahead. And when I think about what I want, I spent a few days thinking about you, what you said to me, what is it that you can get rid of? What is it that you want? What is crucial? Because when we design these faceplates of electronics and stereo and possible autopilot, and tweeters may be here so you can hear better. So I know I got 3 panel spots. I'm taking a Garmin down from what was up high to bring it low where I can see it better. Now I don't have to have this open. You know, in a rough sea day, I find myself having to wipe down my radio and so now everything's here for me. So my plan is I don't have to look up to see my numbers. I can look at a rod tip and look back to my machine and my compass, and it's not this now. So we talk about a game of steps, right? Planning out how we were going to do it was one of the things that when you said it to me, what can we get rid of? It clicked my mind and went, wait a minute. There's 9,000 feet of wire in my console, and we can go to maybe 300.
Yeah.
And simplify this, and then it won't be overwhelming for me inside because I'm not good at that. That's what I'm learning. So here's what I would say to you. Before you call him, or when you call him, have an idea of what you want to do to redo something, even if it's a bilge pump. So maybe a guy's not doing his whole wiring, but he's like, you know, the bilge pump on my boat, remember the first thing I asked you before we even decided to do this, I have an Ocean Master that sits bow heavy. And it drives me crazy because there's always water in my boat. I'm not on a lift. And I noticed the minute I get it on, I fire the boat up, I put it in gear, boom, all that water runs back and the frickin' thing's. The problem with that is, in my boat, there's through holes in my console. So there's space and you can see water. So I always have water sitting in my console, forcing me to have to deal with hanging damp rid and all these little bags to hold moisture so it doesn't get all over my bus bars. That to me that's bad design. You know, it's not a bad design. It's from a structural perspective of an Ocean Master, it's just because I have a hole in there and I've done so much. There used to be a head in my console, then it became a high yielding bait pump. And so we've used this thing for so many different things, but moisture in the console is a killer. And so when Aaron said to me, talk about a plan, like, so you see where I'm going here, right?
Sure.
Somebody calls you up, hey man, I just want to get some wiring done. You're like, what would you suggest for a customer? I mean, is it, think about what you can get rid of, add, and so like, how does that, when somebody calls you, what do most people do, and what would you love them to do?
Well, I guess you could start off with age of the boat. Like, what are we dealing with?
Yeah.
Age, drawing a blank now.
It's a lot of things, dude.
Yeah, there was a lot I was thinking about when you were speaking.
Well, go ahead.
Aside from when a person calls and what they want to do, going back to what you were saying about how you're, very confused about what's
Yes.
happening.
100%.
The main goal is to give you confidence in your boat to where you have a safe boat
Correct.
and there's no surprises. And you can get on that boat, you can turn on your switches, start the engines, untie, and go, and not have to worry about it.
Right.
There's a lot of boats that might look like they're great boats.
You said you wouldn't go on my boat to
And
the islands.
I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of boats that I will not even leave the dock on because I can't trust them,
Yeah.
And one big problem is the do-it-yourselfer that doesn't know what he's doing.
Say that again.
Do-it-yourselfer.
Okay, do-it-yourselfer that's fixed.
I've seen so many of them, and they're just a total disaster and a fire hazard and a big safety issue with everyone on board. I don't like to go out and be nervous about the boat that I'm on,
Correct.
because I just won't get on that boat.
Right.
It's just not worth it. Aside from that, going back to
Somebody calls you, hey, I want to,
the best thing is really, when someone decides what they want, pictures are always great. I always like to see some photos. Let me
Before.
see what you got, because I'm a mobile guy. I go all over the place. There's very few places I won't go. But
so you're mobile. You have a truck. You got all the
Yeah.
stuff with you. That's
Pretty
just
much.
freaking awesome.
pretty much, yes.
Yeah, really, really good.
But I guess you could say I really need to see what somebody has,
Okay.
so I can make recommendations and
Gotcha.
say, well, I think you should do this. I think you should do that. Guy calls, wants to do a $10,000 stereo system, on a boat that he just got. It's okay. Send me pictures. Let me see what you got.
Right.
And really, that 10 grand should go into fixing the boat and not putting a stereo in it first. And I
Hold on,
see
you
them.
gotta get that, Nick.
I see them
Yeah, hold
all
on.
day long.
Hold on.
'Cause the
Wait
main,
a minute.
The main thing is
Sounded
safety.
like my boat.
The main thing is safety first,
Right.
and the fun stuff after.
Right. So in discussing that, see this again because that is be clear on it. The guy's calling you for, I want to put this stereo system in, and you're suggesting, after
Yeah.
seeing his pictures of his console,
Fix the fire hazard first.
let's redo the wiring instead of the $20,000
Yes.
stereo system. It makes a lot of sense.
So sometimes you lose a customer by telling them, hey, I don't recommend doing this, and they'll go somewhere else and
Right.
get it done. But you're still, I just can't trust, I
Right.
can't trust working on something, and the boat's not right to begin with. That person has a problem later, and now they're coming back to you saying, well, hey, why did we do all this? This is what you wanted.
Right.
So I try to push the safety aspect more than anything. It's all about safety. We're not in a car where we can just open the door, hop out on Federal Highway and walk away from it,
Right.
We're in the middle of the ocean, and way too many factors of, too many risks. People can lose their lives and very easily. out
Makes
there,
sense. So think
you know.
about what he just said. I'm calling because I'm thinking I need to upgrade my stereo system. I send him a picture of my console and my thing, and he looks at it because that's what you do. And all of a sudden, he goes, "This boat's basically a fire hazard. I would highly suggest maybe putting money into wiring your boat cleanly before we actually spend this amount of money."
And or simplify everything. A lot of times labels are great. I'm a firm believer in labels because the customer can always go in and find where wiring goes. What's this for? What's that for? But when you simplify it and you get rid of a lot of these other things that you don't really need,
Yes.
you're building more confidence in your setup
100%. Thank
because
you.
you went from this giant
gosh, my boat.
overcomplicated system to simple, and you're going to see we're going to simplify it drastically.
Okay, stop right there. Here's what I want to tell you. What he's telling you is so powerful to me because in my 1987 Ocean Master that we're getting ready to completely redo, there are frickin' chargers. There used to be charging systems in there, trickle chargers, and there's so many holes that my console looked like Swiss cheese. There was, at some point, there was everything in here, and it's overwhelming. He said, what is it that you truly want? So we went from all these switches that half of them I didn't even know worked or didn't work, to one side with 12 switches?
It's
10
half.
switches?
It's like 14.
14. It's
Yeah.
but it's huge. The old stuff, maybe you have a Mako or a Contender, that wiring's still there, but once they took it off, nothing changed. All that wiring is still in there. So when you say, hey man, I want to simplify the program, when he said that to me, and ending on this, when you're thinking about your boat, I love my stereo system, as you know, but when you came down and you go, you need to focus on rewiring this boat because it's old and it's a little bit dangerous. It really got me thinking, and my wife wants to take longer trips to the Bahamas now and run further and go to these places, and I'm like, one of the things that's uncomfortable with me is being 50, 60 miles out. I don't have another boat with me. I don't have what's the Starlink on my boat yet, which probably another thing I'm getting ready to get. But just that confidence, the less things you're looking at, the less things that you're worried about. And to me, I'm a worrier, man. I'm on the water, I'm afraid of the ocean. It really is one of those things. I've seen a lot of bad stuff on the ocean.
Sure.
So when I think about my experiences over time on people's boats with fires I've been in, sinking I've been in. So when you've gone through that and you're out there on your own boat and you're going, then you're sitting at home thinking about all these wires that you don't even know anything about, it's a real problem. So lastly, come up with a plan for what it is that you want to do to your boat, primarily being what he's telling you, safety-minded, simplification, simplicity, the easiest layout for what you want.
And neatness.
And neatness. And I got to tell you, man, that's such a huge thing to me. So a lot of the people on our platform, a lot of the people on the crew platform have used boats. I can't afford, $800,000 center consoles. I have to keep what I got. I have a 1987 boat. The hull is awesome. The guys at Outboard Specialties do my motors every 3 to 4 years, and I have a very simple boat. When we're done, it's going to be really simple, but I can't buy up, and I can't sell my Ocean Master for, what am I going to get, 150 grand? And what can you buy for 150 grand now? That's 31 feet with new motors. You're not getting it. So I have to make my boat nice. And so that's my plan. That's what we're doing. We're going to go to the boat now. We're going to start showing you some of the stuff that we're doing, pictures before and after. And man, honestly, Aaron, this is a really exciting time for me to talk to someone who knows something that I know very little about. All right?
All right.
You ready
good.
to rock this
yeah,
thing?
Man.
All
Let's
right,
do it.
dude.
5, 6, 7, 8. We want to smell that nasty. They say what? That's gross.
He's Pastor T and the place to be. I'm RJP from the LHP and we're bumping. This song's for you. This ain't the frickin' 2 Live crew, it's a dance. So get off the grass, put on a nasty bait and cast. That's right.